Welcome to The Worthy Woman, a podcast for the intuitive, ambitious woman who's ready to regulate her nervous system, reconnect with her body, and rise to the next level of success, health, and purpose. I'm your host, Jo, manual osteopath, holistic coach, and nervous system guide, here to walk with you as you heal from the inside out and create a life and a business that actually feels good. On this podcast, we explore the connection between your body, emotions, subconscious patterns, and your ability to lead, create, and live from your worth. Let's get into today's episode. Okay, welcome back to another episode of The Worthy Woman. Today we're talking about procrastination. So if you've ever called yourself lazy or undisciplined or bad at following through in your business, I want you to pause for a second, because procrastination is not what we've been taught that it is. So a lot of us see procrastination in our business of like avoiding making content or posting it, waiting until the last minute to finish something, maybe knowing what to do, but just not following through with it, right? Like not doing the things that we know will move our business forward and really delaying our progress because of that. I used to call myself the procrastination queen. Honestly, I feel like this has been a part of me. I noticed this a lot when I was in school. I still do it in my business. But when I was in school, oh my gosh, I used to procrastinate all the time. And I felt like there was something wrong with me. The crazy part is I would still get everything done. And I realized that there's a reason why I'm procrastinating. Right? Like I'm not just procrastinating because I enjoy the feeling of the stress. I'm procrastinating because I'm avoiding something that's uncomfortable, right? I actually, don't tell anyone, but when I was in osteo school, I had to write a thesis. And now the thesis for me, it was through COVID times. We didn't have to do like an actual practical study. So it kind of just turned it into a paper. But nonetheless, it was a very long paper. It was like over 100 pages for sure. I can't even remember. I delayed like a whole year of working on this thing, and I wrote it in like 5 days and then handed it in. And it was this like, I had a full mental breakdown before I got back into it. I was debating on whether I was even going to be able to do it. And I felt really shitty because I just felt like I'm letting myself down, right? And it's like, I'm not doing the things I know I should have worked on this. I know. And so it's like the guilt and the shame and the judgment of ourselves kind of comes into play when we are procrastinating. And I have done this like even any sort of project in school. It was like I waited till the last minute. And it was like, oh, I don't have to worry about that right now because it's not due until whenever. And then sure enough, time flies by, right? And then all of a sudden, oh shit, it's due next week or whatever. And then I'm like panicking because I don't have the time, the space, the energy, the whatever, right? And a lot of us try to fix it with like productivity. I used to be like in structure, and I would be like, okay, I'm going to sit down every day. I was the same for like studying for tests. It's like, I'm going to sit down every day and like, 15 minutes here, and then I'm going to study like every morning. And I would try to create the structure, and it never worked. I'd never follow through with it, right? Part of it is there was no accountability because it was just me and I could make my own rules. And it's confusing in our businesses because in my business, I still have this where it's like, oh, I delay making the content, or I'm like, oh, like I don't need to work on that right now because I have these other things that are more immediate. And so we kind of push it off, right? And also there's this resistance even when I do have the space and the time to do it. I'm just like, I will find anything else to do, right? My mom could always tell when I was in school, she could always tell when I had something I needed to be studying or doing because I would just like wander aimlessly around the house. I still do the same thing, but in my business where I'll just find something else to work on, right? And this pattern of procrastination is really confusing because you're like, I'm not a lazy person, right? Like that's what goes through my brain is like, I'm ambitious. I want things. I desire to have growth in my business. I desire to have growth in my life. I want to complete these things because I know that I have to get me to that next level. But still, I would procrastinate, right? And I didn't really know how to get myself like out of the loop. And like the harder I would try to like force myself to not procrastinate, I would just still end up like it would just get worse, right? It's like that pressure would just, again, push me into the procrastination even more. So I want to kind of talk about how procrastination like shows up from a nervous system perspective, because I think a lot of us think it's just like a habit or a trait that we have, and we don't realize where it's actually coming from, right? So procrastination, it can kind of show up as a combination of things, because I've seen myself in kind of both elements. I always say that it's a nervous system response of either freeze or flight. And so basically what your body is doing in that moment is your nervous system sees whatever task that you're procrastinating on as scary. It sees it as like there's pressure around this, something around it is unsafe, you don't feel good about it. Like if you think about what you're avoiding, there's usually some anxiety or stress around it, right? Or pressure, a feeling of pressure. Even though it doesn't maybe make sense. You're like, I don't know why this piece of content is like stressing me out. So it does take a little bit of like reflection as to like what's coming up for you. Some of the business triggers specifically can be like visibility, responsibility, maybe money, being seen, right? And so when you start to kind of break down, okay, like what is maybe this piece of content, I'm avoiding it because I'm afraid of like putting myself out there, right? I'm afraid of being seen. What are people going to say? Is there going to be rejection? Is anyone going to like this piece of content, right? So the nervous system can either show up, I find most often it's like a freeze state where you're just avoiding it altogether. Where I feel like it can come into the flight response is that you're doing everything and anything but. So you're still busy, you're still doing a lot in your business, but you're just not doing that thing. So for example, you have a piece of content that you're supposed to create, and you're not creating the piece of content, but you're working on other things. You're doing your website, you're posting on social media, or like maybe like showing up on stories or selling or whatever, but you're still not posting that one piece of content, right? You're doing all these other things, working with clients, looking at your money, doing whatever, like cleaning your house. It could be even things unrelated to your business that you're doing, right? Like you're doing lots of stuff. It's not that your freeze typically looks more of like not doing anything at all. Okay, so you'd be like in full freeze mode. Or maybe this is also where flight can come in when it comes to procrastination, is you're working on the piece of content, but you're just not posting it. So the procrastination comes in with the posting, not the creation part. A lot of people create content, they film themselves, they create a Canva thing, whatever, and they don't have the confidence to post it. And that can be a procrastination because, again, your body in that moment is trying to protect you from being seen. It's trying to protect you from being visible, from being rejected, or from being criticized or whatever, because at some point in your life, your body learned that that's unsafe, right? And that it's threatening to us. And so when you start to, and when I understood like, okay, like what's coming up for me? Why am I procrastinating so hard on this? That's when I could really start to take a step back and realize, okay, I'm having a nervous system response. What can I do in this moment to help myself get to the other side of this procrastination? Now, there's also this like subconscious piece and this energetic piece that kind of comes into play with this nervous system. I mean, these are all interlinked, right? So the subconscious piece comes into those fears of, being seen or being criticized or being rejected if we take content. Those are subconscious beliefs that are coming to the surface that are triggering a nervous system response, right? So there's something in your subconscious mind that's telling you, if I mess this up, there's proof that I'm not cut out for this, or even responsibility-wise, it's like if I do succeed, there's going to be more responsibility that's expected of me, right? And I'm actually going through this right now, is this like taking on more and what that means, and having a nervous system response when it comes to that. And so this energy, when we sit in this procrastination, it creates this stagnancy in our energy and in the energy of our business, right? And then we get frustrated, and then we get mad at ourselves, and then we just like end up in this loop, right? And so our nervous system is a big piece. And if we can start to understand why we're procrastinating in the first place, that is going to give you the understanding of like, okay, what do we need to do to support our nervous system to create the shift, to create the change, right? And so if procrastination has been part of your story as well, I want you to know that, like, again, it's not a character flaw. This isn't something that's like wrong with you, or like something just in your personality, or that you're not cut out for business, or maybe you just shouldn't be doing this, right? Because some people think like, oh, there's resistance here, so it must not be for me, right? And that's a very slippery slope to kind of fall into when it comes to business. And this is the exact type of pattern that I helped women and help women with inside of my business energetic breakthrough sessions. So with these breakthrough sessions, I've actually kind of like bundled them together. So it's actually 3 sessions together over 6 weeks. And we work through things that you're struggling with in your business, the procrastination that's coming up for you. And we not only work through it from a coaching perspective, like we'll walk through, we'll have conversation, like, okay, what's coming up for you? What's happening? How can we start to shift it? What are the tangible actions and steps that we can start to do to shift? But also we work on the energetic. So I incorporate my Reiki into this, where we do then a Reiki session or a Reiki portion in the last half of that each session to clear any energy, clear any stagnancy, clear any resistance that's coming up around this procrastination. So if you're interested in that, the bundle is down below. I'm not offering single sessions right now. I'm actually just doing it in the bundle because I just feel like we need more than one session to work through these things, right? This is not just like a one and done quick session. Oh, it's perfect. Like, I can just move on with my life. We can have big breakthroughs, but a lot of times to shift some of these nervous system patterns, it takes space. It takes time. It takes time to allow your body to realize that it's safe to, move forward with things in your life. So if that is something that resonates with you, like I said, the link to book that is actually down in the description box. And yeah, I will see you there. When you purchase, you will get the opportunity to book your sessions. If you don't see it after you've booked, log in, and then you will see it on the back end where you can book your sessions. Just so you know, if you're confused. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk more about procrastination over the next couple weeks. So if you're still wondering, like, okay, well, like, how do I shift this? What do I do? We're going to be talking about that. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you like, subscribe, whatever channel you're on when you're listening to this. And feel free to reach out to me on Instagram if you guys have any questions, or if you're curious on things, or if you're really struggling with stuff. I would be more than happy to answer any questions. I do also have my free community, The Embodied Entrepreneur. That is a space where you can specifically ask questions as well, that I will be, in. So if that is, again, something that resonates with you, all of that information will be down below. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here, as always. And I will see you guys in the next episode.